Hi, today we're going to talk about note taking, especially why it's important, like why do I need to take notes? You may be wondering why, because most of the time when we read, for example, when you read newspapers or when you read a novel, you don't take notes and you can say, look, I remember exactly what I read, but here are the reasons why note taking is important. Now, have you ever bought textbooks or borrowed books or notes or printed notes? And have you ever bought highlighters and you thought, I'm going to get a highlighter which is yellow or green or blue or whatever, or red, magenta, and you say, I'm going to start taking my notes, all right? Now, here's the problem. Most of the time, you think that when you buy a highlighter and you highlight your notes, that's a good way of taking notes. The problem is that most of the time you end up highlighting too much. And more importantly, a lot of the stuffs you highlight are actually meaningless because you don't remember why you highlight them in the first place, or why it has meaning, or why it's significant. It's worse if you use multiple colors because then you end up with a very rainbow colored book. All right? So, in this short session, I'm going to teach you exactly why we take notes. In order to understand why we take notes, let's first look at the association between note-taking and learning. After all, you're at the university because you are here to learn. Now, experts such as Brown say that in order for learning to take place, students must engage with the learning materials. So when you think about reading, for example, all right, in order for us to learn from the materials which we read, we must be engaged with the materials. Now, if I were to make this simpler, when you take notes, generally your engagement improves. In other words, you associate better and you work better with the materials. And as a result, you develop what is called active learning. In other words, you're able to process the information better. And that's one of the reasons why we take notes. So, now that you understand the association between engagement and learning, let's figure out exactly how to be engaged. All right. So when we look at the word engagement, what exactly does that mean? Think carefully. All right. When you engage, what you are doing is you are doing the process of thinking and metacognition. So what's metacognition? In other words, you're thinking about thinking itself. So when you read something, your brain is supposed to process that information. And as you process, you think about stuff like content. You think about stuff like, why is this so confusing? And you consider whether your opinion has changed as you read through the documents. And if it has changed, why exactly has it changed? If it has not changed, why hasn't it changed? All right. Think about what worked and how do you use this information in your assignments and in your essays. What didn't work? What shouldn't you do next time? All right. Think about how you can apply this knowledge in whatever you are supposed to do. For example, in your assignments, your essays, your thesis, and so on and so forth. So all this improves the process of learning because when you engage, your brain is actually processing whatever you are reading. But hey, hang on. Some of you may argue, nah, I don't need to do all this because I have an elephant's memory. I can remember whatever I read. And I can understand perfectly well what I read. As long as I can understand and as long as I can remember, that's good enough for me. And you may think that you have an elephant's memory, but that's not very true. So why is it important to engage in order to retain memory? It's very simple.
Brown and Scampolino found that we human beings, we forget 40% of new information within 24 hours of first reading and hearing it. In other words, if you were to read a 10-page article today and complete reading it by 9 a.m. today, by 9 a.m. tomorrow, you would only be able to retain 6 pages of information. You would have lost the other 4 pages. Of course, that's just quantifying it. So what does this mean, and how do you actually retain that information which you have read? You want to remember 100% of that. So in order to do that, what you need to do is you need to have repetition. So if you read the article again, even though you spend less time reading it the second time, all right, and if you were to do this within one day, your memory will be retained 100%. And if you were to read it for the third time within a week, all right, even if you were to spend less time reading it this time, you would retain it back to 100% again. Now, as you can see from the graph over here, that information shows that each time you redo something, each time you repeat the process, even though you spend less time doing it, you will retain the memory back to 100%. So, going through the material again and again helps retention. Experts also find that it is very, very important to focus and customize information to needs. What does that mean? It means that when you read and when you write your notes, you must focus on specific keywords or key ideas as you read. That helps you to read better and more effectively. Now, how exactly do we do that? Take for example, if you are working on an assignment on the factors which affect health. So let's say you have come up with a mind map for your note-taking process. And in your mind map, all right, you have made health the center or the focus of your essay. And then you have also identified a few different areas like sleep, stress, exercise, health, and diet. And now you want to read more about the effects on diet for health. So as you read, for example, if you are reading this particular article, which is the health benefit of vegetable, fruit juice based diet, all right, and as you read, focus specifically on what you need to find information for. You'll be able to find the details very, very quickly and bring that detail to your notes. That will fill up the missing parts of your reading. Experts also found that note-taking improves attention and concentration during lectures. So as you listen to your lecturer, whether in class or online, make sure you take notes, because you don't want to be a student who falls asleep during lectures, and instead you want to be the type of student who is consistently paying attention. And the way to do that, of course, is to take notes. Experts also found that when you take notes, you get a better understanding of the organization or structure of whatever you're reading. So hypothetically, if you are reading a book and if you were to take notes, you will find that the structure will become very, very clear, and you will understand how one idea leads to another idea and how everything comes together to form a whole topic or a whole picture. Now, those are very, very good reasons for you to start taking notes as you read. Remember, if you are not taking notes, if you are reading while you are lying down on the bed and holding the book with both hands, something is wrong with the way you are reading. You need to take notes if you want your brains to work and process information. It's very important because it helps the learning process. So, where do you go from here? You can watch the video on creating notes that make sense, or you can Find out which is a better way of taking notes, digital or handwritten. I hope you find the video useful. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.